Hey guys, and okay, just getting right into the weeds with this chapter. I love how Oda takes the worst case scenario I envisioned for the aftermath of Wano in the very beginning of this chapter and cranks that shit up to 11 in the first few pages because he just all but confirmed that two things are going to happen in the aftermath of Wano. First, being whether or not Wano survives having Onigashima getting dropped on it is irrelevant now, because as Lucci so eloquently put it, one way or another, Wano is going to be annexed by the world government. And if I'm reading the room correctly on this, this seems to be Oda putting Momonosuke in the same position as Oden, which is continue what his father and Roger started by joining Luffy and help them finish their journey. Because I doubt Momonosuke would ever consent to serving as shogun under the eyes of the government after everything Orochi and Kaido have done. So I think what Oda is setting up for Momonosuke here is that Momonosuke may pretty much see joining Luffy as the only way Wano will ever be free. That's kind of how I'm reading the room on it. Now, the other thing to talk about is Robin being captured by the government. And the thing is, Oda has already done this particular song and dance before, so I don't doubt that Robin is going to get captured. But if she does, I think if she does ultimately get captured by CP0, I don't think it's going to be permanent. In fact, with this inevitability of Robin being captured again, I feel Oda is setting up Blackbeard in order to re-enter the story. And have him being the one to ultimately end up, for Robin to end up in his grasp and be captured by him, but also for Shanks as well in order to make a return. Specifically, what I believe that Oda is setting up with the idea of Robin being captured here is specifically for the Red Hair Pirates, the Straw Hat Pirates, Shanks, and Luffy to team up in order to get Robin back. That's kind of how I'm viewing the whole inevitability of Robin being captured and how I perceive the events playing out. But the thing is, though, if this is in fact the case of a scenario where Shanks and Luffy have to team up in order to save Robin, the thing about this scenario is, depending on how Oda plays this, it's ultimately going to end in Shanks' death. Like, there's no other, like, this is kind of one of those I think Oda is setting up sort of a halfway point kind of like situation where Luffy has to realize just how much of a threat Blackbeard has become over the years. Like, they've had right now, as of the New World saga of things, like Luffy and Blackbeard's like monologues and just back and forth has been very minimal. But in the time they've had, you can already tell that Luffy is, to a certain degree, still kind of underestimating Blackbeard, and because of that, that there has to be a catalyst for Luffy to realize just how much of a threat Blackbeard has become. And unfortunately, to that end, the only thing I can think of is for Shanks to ultimately fight Blackbeard and in the effort to save Robin and have him die at the hands of Blackbeard, like in the attempts to save Robin. Like that's the only thing I can think of, and it's sad that has to be the case, but I think ultimately it has to happen here. With that said, let's talk about Sanji, because we finally get the reveal of what's been going on with him, which is that his hardened skin, or just, I guess in some ways, the latent abilities that his brothers have, has been awakened. And I'm kind of two particular minds about this particular reveal. On one hand, just from what we know about Sanji's backstory, I think we can all kind of say it was inevitable that something would have awakened within him. And I do like the idea that he's awakened awakened that power, but still kept his humanity. So I like it in that sense, that shows that, yeah, even though he's awakened the power, he, unlike his brothers, he still kept his humanity. But on the other hand, I honestly don't know how I feel about the reveal in itself, because to me, part of the appeal about Sanji to me is that he was powerful but not invulnerable. And while he still don't get me wrong. I think these powers don't necessarily make him like invincible or anything, but they do kind of add a sort of barrier that I feel prevent him from getting extremely hurt. And I don't know, just something I don't know, just something about the whole hardened skin thing with Sanji just doesn't feel right. Although, like, let me put it this way: I would have preferred he learned iron body over actually having iron skin. And I guess I'll be interested in exploring with one thing I'll be interested in exploring with this though is just if there's kind of this what if there's a connection at all between this and Sanji's oranges as Lunarian are, because as far as we know, all we know are that Lunarians could manipulate and control fire, and that's basically what Sanji can do. But I'd like to know how much Judge was aware of these Lunarian origins, and if the hardened skin is almost like another ability they possess, because even if the Lunarian line is near extinct, I find it odd that so far Sanji seems to be the only one among his family that's considered a Lunarian, considering the abilities that Germa possess are called latent abilities. It means that they would have to in some way been like just the fact that their latent abilities would mean they'd have to in some way be connected back to the Lunarian origins, even if it's just their hardened skin or something that doesn't have to do with what the powers of the other powers of Sanji's brothers. But also even more than that, which side of the Lunarian gene did this come from? Like it feels there's for me when it comes to the Lunarian Sanji's Lunarian origins, there's a missing piece that's connecting Sanji to the Lunarians here, and I don't know what that missing piece is. Like, Judge would be the obvious, considering it would give him the motivation to awaken those latent powers, but I almost wonder if Sanji's mother was the one that had the Lunarian gene, because she's the one we don't really know all that much about, so it would make sense for her to in some way have it. And yeah, I'm not gonna now getting away from Sanji though. Let's talk about Queen's whole deal in this episode, in this chapter, because I'm not gonna lie. Even though Queen's whole snake thing definitely put Sanji in a serious bind, so to speak, the method by which he activated that form was fucking hilarious, guys. Like that was on like the way he just inverted his neck and jutted out like that to make his like snake form or whatever. That shit, like that was on some Kaku giraffe devil fruit form shit, and I loved it. If only because it made me laugh. Like this was definitely Oda's comedic timing at work again, and just in that one moment, it felt kind of very pre-time skip-esque, which I love. Aside from that, though, in the middle of all that going on between like Robin and Sanji, we have Momonosuke and Yamato dealing with the falling Onigashima situation, and I do like how they're kind of tackling it on two different fronts. Yamato making a last-ditch effort to take care of the explosives, while Momonosuke tries to keep the island levitated. But in some way, with Yamato doing that, even though she didn't say it out loud or says in her mind that she has faith in Momonosuke, it also I think in some ways it feels like it also feels like that there's a part of her that doesn't want to admit that she doesn't trust him to be able to master the ability to produce the flame clouds like necessary like soon enough, which, considering how close the Onigashima is getting to the flower capital, there is credence behind that. But yeah, with me it's like, how much are you, it's one of those things where I'm questioning, okay Yamato, how much are you actually trusting Momonosuke in this situation to get it done? So yeah, that has been going like, I don't know if you really trust him as much as you say out loud, Yamato. Aside from that though, there's not a whole lot more to talk about other than saying, aside from the big reveals we got, it felt like there were chunks of this chapter, mainly the stuff with Sanji, that felt mostly like set up. And you can tell with the fights not related to Kaido specifically is the area where Oda's kind of dragging his feet, and that's the area where he wants to make sure he finishes he finishes all the last remaining fights that aren't related to Kaido in the last few remaining chapters of this year, and bookend the last major fights with chapter 135 before entering into Kaido versus Luffy next year. Like, you can kind of tell that's what he's doing. So the pacing, kind of suffers a little bit in that regard. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Control. Be sure to hit the notification bell, subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of MMA, signing off. Later, everyone.